Welcome to the My Brain, My Happiness podcast. My name is Joe, and on each episode, it is my goal to spread awareness on mental health. No, I'm not a therapist, a psychiatrist, or a medical doctor. I'm just a guy who has had a lifelong relationship with mental illness, specifically OCD. Together with you, I want to blow the roof off the stigma that comes with having a mental illness. You need to know you're not alone. I promise this podcast will be upbeat and positive. My goal with each episode is to make you understand that you don't have to take this on alone or in silence. Now let's change some lives. Well, hello everybody. Hey, welcome to episode number 21. How about that episode 20, huh? With Rich. That dude, he's a freaking hero. He is what I would call a warrior. And hopefully we'll find out about that ALS diagnosis soon, and hopefully he doesn't have it. But I'd like to thank Rich for being a guest on the podcast and opening up like he did. And if you guys haven't had a chance to listen to it, I would really recommend going back and giving it a listen because it's truly inspiring. So what do I want to talk about today? Well, I want to talk today a little bit about personal growth. Now, I don't actually have a Diet Coke in my hand today. I have had so much Diet Coke today, it's ridiculous. So I am drinking from Costco their Kirkland sparkling flavored water. It's almost like those icy drinks, it tastes the same. So I got an orange mango flavor. It's no Diet Coke, but it's going to have to do today. So anyway, personal growth. Personal growth is very tricky. And it really sucks. You know why it sucks? Is because no one can do it for you. Like you literally have to say, fuck it, and make a decision to do it yourself. And you need to stop beating yourself up for how long it takes because nothing that's worth doing happens overnight. We're all trying to wait for that eureka moment to happen for us, for our lives to change. We're all waiting for it to just fall in our laps. But guess what? That eureka moment's probably never going to come. Real, tangible change, it takes time. And you know why? It's because our brains, oh my God, our fucking brains, they don't cooperate with us. Our brains will always protect us, and they will protect us from anything negative or anything that feels like it's going to hurt us. It's always going to look for the easy way out. And so because of that, personal growth becomes a challenge because you have to overcome that, and you have to tell your brain, not today, not today. Our brains they have so many negative thoughts for every second that we're awake. It's ridiculous. For years, I've battled mental illness, depression, OCD, anxiety. Now I have ADD. I've made attempts on my own life. I spent times in mental hospitals. But now I decided, enough of that shit. And one day I decided that I'm going to fill my life with positive thinking. And then I wanted to try to get out there and help others. So what did I do? I started on TikTok and just doing motivational videos and mental health awareness videos because we're just not talking enough about it. And I wanted people to be able to grow past what they think are their limitations. You can blow through anything if you just believe it. You got to believe in yourself. And so I am out there every day. I make a TikTok video. You know how many followers I have? 730. That's it. I mean, I'm not out making money out there. You got to have like 10,000 followers to make money on TikTok. But I'm not doing it to make money. I do it because I want to help people. And if I can help one person with every video I make, then I'm doing my job. And guess what? Every video I make, I get at least one comment saying, thank you. I needed this today. I've actually had people ask me for examples of stuff that I'm talking about. And the funny thing is that like I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, and you hear that in the intro to this podcast. But I'm able to give examples from my own life of how I battled through the darkest times to come out on top. And now I do this podcast and everything else so I can try to grow as a person, be the best version of me. I didn't have a turning point in my life. It's not like I woke up one day and said, it's time, right? This was a gradual progression, right? This was a work in progress and still is, because change doesn't happen overnight. The truth is, for me, it's been a long, hard journey, and I still am on it. You know why? Because I never want to stop growing. The process of change can be annoying. It may seem like nothing is working. You're like, God damn it. And then you'll go out on YouTube and you'll find these, hey, do these 5 things and you'll be happy forever. Or, hey, want to make $1,000 a day or whatever. Stop looking for those quick fixes. They don't exist. No one got to where they got. No one has gotten to where they are without putting in the work. Yeah, there's some people who are lucky, inherited money. I get it, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? The real success stories, and what I mean by success stories, are the people who built themselves. And they didn't do it with a quick fix. They didn't look at a YouTube video and just start doing something, and all of a sudden they started having this tremendous residual income coming in and started, being filthy rich. Fuck that. That does not happen that way. So, listen, those resources can be good. I do my research by listening to podcasts, reading books. Well, I really listen to books. I do audiobooks because of my ADD. I'll read the same paragraph over and over. Webinars, but none of them will make a change for you. You have to make the change for yourself. You have to do the work that all these motivational speakers are talking about. They can tell you how to do it. They can tell you what you need to wake up and do, or, but if you don't listen and take any advice and don't start to make the change, you're never going to grow. For the longest time, I let others have this fucking control over my emotions. I stayed in bad relationships too long, which, you know what, in reality, that's not fair to anyone involved. I stayed in a relationship for 10 years, which was probably 7 years too long. It was just the fear of being alone, the fear that you were not going to be able to make it. And not to mention that is that relationship is the one that caused me to have my mental breakdown. That's the one that put me in my darkest hole. And I still stuck with it even after all of that. It wasn't until I kept continuing to see my psychiatrist and we started messing with my medicine and I kept on with therapy that all of a sudden, each and every day, I got stronger and stronger and stronger until I realized this isn't working. This isn't what I want. How am I going to grow as a person? How am I going to grow as a father? How am I going to grow as a grandfather, hopefully someday? It was never going to happen with this person in my life. It's not necessarily her fault. It was nobody's fault. It just is what it was. The relationship, I guess, was good until it wasn't anymore. And I got the help I needed and became strong and finally got the courage enough to end the relationship. And that still didn't come easily. It was very hard to walk away. But I did it. But, just ending that relationship was not the only thing I needed to do to continue on my journey of growth. I just got fucking tired. for years, and this is up until recently, I would always worry about what people thought of me. I kept trying to please everyone. And I had to try to find a way to accept that people are who they are. And once I came to the realization that if you don't bring positivity to my life, if you don't bring anything good into my life, if you don't give me the same kind of dedication to the relationship or friendship that I give you, it doesn't even have to be the same amount. Just make me feel like I'm somewhat important to your life. Then you know what? You've got no place in my life. So I would start to distance myself from people like that. And you know what I noticed? I was happier. I was less stressed. I was fucking growing. And with that came confidence. And this is what personal growth was looking like. To me, anyway. But it was hard. It was really hard. People may not understand when you start to distance yourself. They just may not get it. They may be like, listen, we were talking all the time. Where you been? There were a couple of people that I had to just give the harsh reality to. Like, listen, you blame everybody else for your problems. Everything that happens to you is everybody else's fault. And you're just a negative person. And you need to work on yourself. I can't be your therapist all the time. And I'm not going to be your punching bag. So you got to go. So what else did I do? Well, I started to put out to the world, out in podcast land and out in TikTok land, my messages of hope, my messages of, my messages of mental health awareness and everything else under the sun. And I got my life coaching certifications. I got my master life certification. I went through a bunch of classes. And now my purpose in life is to help people. Because I have found something. I have found something that's helped me grow into becoming the person that I want to be. I'm not there yet. Because you know why? I'm still not reaching enough people. Yeah, sure. I would love for someday for this to be a money-making or something I can make a living at. If it never happens, it never happens. But you know what? I'm never going to stop trying. But my reward for all of this is helping people. That's my purpose. And doing all this other stuff is my passion. So when I hear myself give you guys all this advice, it makes me rethink things myself. Like I said, I do all kinds of research. I watch all kinds of videos and everything. And then I put it all, I take notes, right? I take fucking notes. And then I tell you how it is with my life. Like I take what I've learned and put it to my life, and then I regurgitate it out to you. You may say, oh, well, that's plagiarism. I'm not plagiarizing anybody. Like, if you go out there and you look at or listen to what people are saying, everybody kind of says the same thing. But I listen to a lot of therapists talk and psychiatrists and whatnot. I'm none of those. I'm just a guy who has been there, who is there. I mean, I still take medication every day. I'm not embarrassed. And I come out here and talk about it. And when I come out here and talk about it and I help and I make people not embarrassed about it, take away that taboo, that's growth. If you can say to yourself, hey, I need help, you're growing. You're becoming a fucking warrior. And I'm proud of you. And you should be proud of yourself. And nothing makes me happier when I get a response. It was like, whoa, I really needed this today. I knew that I was on to something. And this all started with TikTok. I made one video. And I got a couple thousand views. And, I probably get somewhere between, between 300 and 1,000 views a video. But I felt like I was really on to something. So I'm just going to always continue to do it. Whether or not the channel gets any bigger or not, I don't know. But I'm always going to reach for the stars. And even on this podcast, listen, I've had 2 guests. The first guest I had was my daughter, and she suffers from mental illness. But you know what she is? She's a fucking pharmacist. A pharmacist. And you should go back and listen to that episode too, because I was so proud of her, the way she handled herself on my podcast. And the second guest I had was my buddy Rich, who, early Parkinson's diagnosed, and then diagnosed with ALS, which we hope now is not going to be the case. But I just do these things because it helping others helps me. Your brain, it's constantly rewiring itself, and you can help your brain rewire yourself. You can choose to do more positive things. You can choose to look at an obstacle and decide how you're going to overcome it instead of run the other way. And then your brain will start to pick up on that. And the more you keep doing this stuff, you're going to start to change negative patterns into positive patterns. And your brain will start to realize that's the norm. And the more and more you do this, the more efficiently your brain will process these thoughts and these habits and the change of positivity and growth. And once that happens, your brain will literally change its shape, like physically will change its shape. Once these positive thoughts and changes start to take hold, they can start to drown out the consistent negative thoughts. You know what that is? You know it. Growth. So let's do this, man. Let's do this. Sounds easy, right? Yeah, right. Here's the problem. Outside stimuluses have an effect on us as well. Whether it's the fucking news or what we watch or the people that we're surrounded with. And to try to drown that shit out is a hard thing to do. So you can watch, here's an example, right? That tragic plane crash in Washington, D.C. Now, none of those people got on that plane that day and thought that a fucking helicopter was going to run into the side of their plane. Right? And chances are that's never going to happen to any of you in your lifetime ever when you fly in a plane. I have flown, a gazillion times, and I've never had any issues. But something like that happens, and people who have a fear of flying, now it becomes amplified. When they know logically it's not going to happen. But your brain is going to be like, well, it happened to them. It happened to them. Do you feel the same way about when you buy a lottery ticket? Right? Somebody eventually wins that jackpot, right? But when you go to buy the lottery ticket, whenever Mega Millions or Powerball, whatever gets up to its gazillion dollars, we all go and we fucking buy our tickets, right? We know we're not going to win. We know. But we still buy the tickets. And so you have to think the same way when it comes to doing the things that you really want. So if you want to travel and stuff, you got to fly. And so you got to know when you get on the plane, you're not going to crash. Like the chances are like almost nil. Yeah, somebody's got to win the lottery every once in a while. And unfortunately, sometimes planes crash. But think about it. How often do commercial airlines crash? I mean, I think it had been like 20-something years since the last time we had one of those. And what happened in Washington was just a really freak accident. And it was terrible, but this is the way I look at it. When something tragic like that happens, people learn from it. So the FAA or the NTSB or whatever, they all get involved and they learn what happened, and then they put measures into place so it won't happen again. And so that's how I look at it. That's the thought process I decided to take. I changed the pattern. Instead of saying, oh my God, what if I get on a plane and it crashes? I go, you know what? I'm going to get on this plane because they learned what happened the last time, and now they've probably fixed it. It's probably safer to fly now than it was before then. Unfortunately, people gave up their lives for that to be learned, and it was just, it was awful. It was so sad, but when it comes to facing your fears, you have to try to put a spin on it that'll give you confidence to be able to face your fears and keep on growing. Because once those negative thoughts take hold and you start going down that rabbit hole, it's tough to start switching it around again. So that's what I mean by outside stimulus. I was really struggling what was going on. I still struggle with what's going on in this country. And I'm not talking about who's running the country or who's not running the country. I don't get into politics. When I speak, I don't talk about it on my podcast. I don't talk about politics on TikTok. But what I do hate is the fact that there's so much anger and disdain for each other in this country. And the news just likes to fire that up, man. All the mainstream media like to do is just put those little pokers out there to get us fighting with each other. And it works. They get their views, they get their ratings, and we all fight with each other. And I was struggling with that. Like, I was really struggling with seeing people and friendships end and people wanting to judge you for who you voted for or who you didn't vote for and trying to change people's minds when you're not going to change it. And I couldn't deal with it anymore. My psychiatrist gave me the best advice I ever heard. He said, take the remote control and flip it off. Turn it off. And that's what I did. Turned it off. Now, I'm not saying that I just am oblivious to what's happening in the world and in our country. I'm not saying that, but I get my news from all kinds of different sources. I look around and I don't dedicate myself to any one news source because, there's so much bias that one side's going to tell you one story and the other side's going to tell you a different story, and each side thinks that they're right. And I'm convinced that the media on one side or another knows they're not right and doesn't give a shit. That's what I think. So, outside stimulus. You got to find yourself trying to tune that out the best you can. Our brains are always going to want to be safe than sorry. It's like when you watch a scary movie, right? You're in your house, you're alone. You watch a scary movie. Before you started watching that scary movie, you weren't afraid to be in the house by yourself. All of a sudden, the movie ends, and you're fucking peeking behind doors. You're thinking you're hearing noises. It's not logical thinking, but it impacts us. And so you have to be able to realize that your thoughts don't control you. Your thoughts do not control you. So don't let them. Don't let them control you. And it's not just with scary things. You could watch a rom-com and, you see these two people falling in love and, you're waiting for them to get together at the end of the movie and, they go through all these battles or, all this time goes by or whatever. And then all of a sudden at the end, their eyes meet and they run into each other's arms and they love each other forever. We know that shit's not fucking reality either. But that gives us a positive. That makes us feel good. So I'm not going to say that, stop. I'm not going to say stop watching scary movies or stop watching rom-coms or stop doing anything you enjoy. You just need to realize that it's not reality, right? Reality is what it is. And your reality is what you make it. Because you can't change the past. You can't predict the future. All you can do is live in the present and try to pave a path towards a great future. But you can't predict what's going to happen because there's going to be all kinds of obstacles and shit in your way, and you got to figure out, how am I going to get by them? How am I going to get by them? So just keep on plugging away. Our brains have the unbelievable ability to stretch and process new information. And what's amazing is that some of the stimulus can have completely different reactions from person to person. Right? I could watch, I'll give you an example. I saw a meme on Facebook the other day, and it was fucking hysterical. Like, I thought it was hysterical. There's this show on Netflix. It's called Full Swing. It's about the PGA Tour, and these cameras following around. I know. And there's this Facebook group called Dude, Where's My Par? Right? And I was part of it. And this guy was saying, the meme said, my wife was wondering why they had. There's this very attractive woman out there. Her name is Paige Sporanic, I guess her last name is. And so the meme said, my wife was wondering why a TikTok influencer or whatever YouTube star was on Full Swing, and said I had to explain to her that, she's giving golfers tennis elbow more than actually golf has. Now, I laughed my ass off. Like, I thought it was funny. But other people saw it and were pissed off. And then I said, why is it people so angry? Like, this was just funny. It was just a joke. And I had this one lady say, she called me a retard. Like, are you fucking 12? I mean, first of all, it's very insulting, right? It's very insulting because it's insulting to retarded people, mentally challenged people. That's who it's insulting to use it as an insult. But I was like, my fucking God. And then she said, yep, just looked at your profile, saw your picture, definitely retarded. And I was like, you know what? I don't need to be part of this group at all. This is not where I want to be. I don't want to associate with people like this. I got out of that group because there was enough of that bullshit, And I just couldn't believe that a grown-ass woman would still talk like that. So I took a deep breath. And I said to her, you know what? You have a nice day. Because I wasn't going to let her get the best of me. That's growth. Because I'll tell you what. 3 or 4 years ago, I would have been going down this rabbit hole, arguing with her, back and forth. And I'm going to be honest with you. There was a couple of comments that went back and forth before I realized what I was doing. Self-awareness, another big aspect of growth. So that's how I look at personal growth with me, is how you handle situations, right? People are going to try to hurt you, and they're going to do things. And you know what? Your reaction to that is what's going to dictate what happens next. You can just turn around and walk the other way. Just smile, kill them with kindness. I'm not saying get walked all over, but if you're going to do something that's going to have a negative impact on your mental health, don't fucking do it. Don't. I really believe that deep down, we all want personal growth. But the problem is a lot of us will look at it and we see what it's going to take. And we know it's going to be difficult. And the brain will always try to push you to the easiest way. It protects you from what looks like it's going to be hard, right? It protects you from that. Remember that growth takes time. You got to be patient. And slow incremental changes will keep building. And as it builds, eventually that change will become permanent. And the sooner you start to try to make these changes for the better, the faster it's going to happen. Think about that one thing in your life that you know is no fucking good for you, or it's bringing no good to your life. And I want you to replace it with something that's better for yourself. And then commit to stick to that. Now, maybe you go and eat a fucking Twinkie every day, right? Eating Twinkies is not good. I'm going to tell you right now. And I know they say everything in moderation, but Twinkies, dude, that shit is banned in other countries. Like, there is so much processed food that is banned in other countries that we eat in this country. And Twinkies is one of them. So I'm telling you, if you eat a Twinkie every day, I don't give a fuck if you say it's in moderation. It isn't any good for you. I know people say a calorie is a calorie. Fuck that noise. Twinkies are no good for you. And I'm sure maybe I'll get sued for saying that. Who knows? But I got no money, so I don't know what they're going to take from me. So replace it with something that's good for you. Something that's better for you. Something that you could eat. Maybe listen, I know we go to Costco and we get those like cotton candy flavored grapes. I don't know how they make them taste like cotton candy, but they're fucking amazing. But eat a cup of those instead of a Twinkie. They're delicious. They're sweet. They'll take that craving away. And it's fruit. It's just better for you. That's just an example. Okay? But you need to commit to stick to it. And find somebody to help you be accountable for it. Say, hey, look, I do this on a regular basis, and I want to replace it with something good. So I need you to help me be accountable. When you see me doing stupid shit, this stupid thing, stop me. Remind me. Okay? Hey, and don't be ashamed or shy or whatever to give yourself a pat on the back every time you do it. And say, hey, good fucking job. Every time you achieve it, give yourself a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of props and say, nice job. Because you deserve it. You deserve to hear positive things. Remember, mental health applies to all of us. Do you know why? Because we all got a fucking brain. And we all have room for personal growth. And you can do this. I know it's hard. In my toughest times, I thought I would never be happy again. I tried to take my own life. I was in the deepest, darkest fucking place you could possibly be. And I'm like, I'm never going to get out of here. When I think about that, you're going back now 10 years. Almost 10 years. And I can still remember the feeling of my body, like physically feeling ill. Because I was so depressed and so sad and in such a dark place. I never thought I'd be happy again. And now I'm happier than I've ever been. Now get out there and make a change. And start today. Your journey to becoming your best self starts now. And do it because you're worth it. Listen, thank you everybody for listening to another episode of My Brain, My Happiness. I hope you got something out of this. This was kind of a long one. I did a lot of rambling, but fuck it. I don't care. Hopefully you guys listen to it, like it. I know I swear a lot. I know I do. I'm never going to change. And I hope that you guys find something that makes you happy and you never change either. So, have a great night, day, whenever you listen to this. And we'll talk next time. Peace, and I love you.